introduction. I've been playing Metal Gear Solid ever since I was a kid, still having my copy of Metal Gear Solid 2 Phantom Liberty on the PS2. But overall, even as a kid, I've became a huge fan of the series that Kojima and Konami made. So when I heard that Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is getting a remake, of course I had to check it out. Making this the second remake that Konami has ever made. First being Silent Hill, and in my opinion, I think that Metal Gear actually needed it more.
No, I'm serious.
But Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, or Delta, whatever you want to call it, is here. And after spending a good bit of time with it, I realized that maybe I'm not the target of this demographic.
Glad to hear that.
But this remake is far less Resident Evil 4 or Final Fantasy 7, and more of a Oblivion. It's more or less just the same game as the original, but with a new coat of paint, which is both good and a bad thing. It's a bad thing because I've already played Metal Gear Solid 3 so many times. I know all the plot twists, I know all the animations, I know the story, I know the amazing parts of the game, and I might even go back and try to 100% it.
Pretty tasty.
You too can experience the same thing. You can eat a tree frog, you can get bullied by a guy who shoots hornets out of his hands, you can climb up gaming's most notorious ladder. And if you want my simple answer, then it's Metal Gear Solid 3, and that's really it. But there are some things I really want to talk about in this new remake that kind of concerns me.
Don't you forget it.
Now, this isn't going to be a review of Metal Gear Solid 3, but more how the remake stands against the original, and really if it's better or worse for you. I more or less just want to talk about the remake itself, and if you guys want a more in-depth little review of Metal Gear Solid 3, I will do that one day for you guys. But for now, let's talk about how strange everything is.
Does it look that strange to you?
But I will say that this remake is 100% true to the original. But the gist is that you're playing as Big Boss, who used to go by the name Snake, who's going to Russia to rescue a Russian scientist from captivity.
You're CIA. Yeah.
To then be betrayed by his former mentor, the boss, who has went rogue.
What are you doing here?
Sokolov comes with me.
She also gives a sadist named Captain Volgan nuclear weapons. Yep.
Make a fine gift for me. This can't be happening.
And after getting betrayed and getting his shit kicked in, he is sent back to complete the mission of rescuing the scientist while also trying to assassinate the boss. While also trying to stop Colonel Volgan from releasing a device called the Shagahoth to launch nukes at the US, causing war.
Ah, what a joyful scene.
And not just dealing with that, but Snake also has to deal with a special forces unit called the Cobras, who the boss used to work for. A band of weirdos that have a bunch of abilities, speaking of which, the guy with hornets, in which he's also assisted by an undercover agent named Eva, who's a lot like a lot of other female characters in the Metal Gear series, which are tomboys.
Well, I'm Eva. Are you here to tempt me?
Bitch, are you for real?
For most of the game, you're going to be exploring dense jungles and interiors while either trying to stealth your way through or killing every enemy on sight. It's really up to you exactly what to do. The AI is very smart and terrific. Metal Gear Solid 3 has always been an immersive sim by letting you do exactly what you want. Also, dressing your character in any kind of camouflage or face paint to help you fight against, the enemies.
Pretty tasty.
Pretty much think of it as like this. The whole Metal Gear series is nothing but a James Bond fantasy while also combining every action movie known to man while also letting you play around. It also has one of the more tragic backstories in the Metal Gear series of how Snake has become Big Boss and how he becomes the main antagonist of the series. Either way, no matter how you think about it or how you feel about the game franchise, Metal Gear Solid 3 is one of the most important games in the series, in which I can see why they haven't changed a thing when it comes to the story. It's one of the most important games in the series, and regardless the most popular game out of the franchise. And to be honest, it's still my most favorite game in the series.
Pretty good.
And of course, the game still has its goofy side by letting you dress up like a crocodile or look at certain kind of viewpoints when you're looking around, to also getting your man area touched, even letting you see models on magazines. These things are so detailed that you can even look at it and just see the huge amount of detail that's come around to it.
Claude Hammers.
I know a lot of people, including myself, were worried about the game being censored. And to be honest, a lot of things haven't changed. Like, for instance, the scene where Snake gets a hard-on for the gun's detail and goes into immense autism mode.
Long type trigger with non-slip grooves. A ring hammer.
The visuals for this remake look absolutely stunning. Everything has been overhauled to the highest level. You can see a lot of detail while you're playing the game, including seeing Snake's individual hairs from his head and his beard. Overall, the game looks beautiful as hell. The amount of detail on Snake's body is just absolutely amazing. From the face paint actually looking like paint instead of a smudge from the original game, and everything that happens to you within the game shows up in cutscenes, including mud or scars on your body. And this definitely shows with the final scene of the game where you actually get to see different scars on Snake's body. I've gotten a few cuts on my face within the game. Hell, even Eva's looking better herself these days because her model is just absolutely stunning. I don't know what they did, but they made it even better.
Crikey.
And I especially like the visuals during the Fury boss fight where the flames actually look like flames and that you can actually see yourself in the reflection of the Fury's mask.
I came back from space.
And especially when seeing the electricity bounce off of Volgin and seeing how the lightning illuminates his face in certain cutscenes. But overall, the game has impressive visuals. But of course, you can also make the argument about the soul versus soulless debate, where even though it looks great, it kind of defeats the purpose of the original art style. With its impressiveness comes a few sacrifices. Like, for instance, a lot of the same areas have this kind of blurry effect or this weird kind of texture, especially in the area with all the crocodiles. Or when you're trying to do your first fight with Ocelot, and you can really see the difference between the models, and really it kind of defeats the purpose of seeing his facial textures. And I mean, say what you want about old PlayStation 2 games, but at least I can say that most of them had a decent art style to tell the difference from each other. For instance, Sly Cooper, you can instantly, recognize it that it's Sly Cooper. Or Jak and Daxter, you can see that each game had its own beautiful type of art style that just shows you everything that you need to know about that kind of game. Even the classic GTA games had this type of art style. Like, you can tell that it's a Metal Gear game when you looked at the older Metal Gear games. You can say the same thing about 4 and maybe even 5, but Delta just looks like a Unreal Engine 5 game. Like, when you notice that they're reusing the same forest backdrop, you'll really see what I mean, especially since the majority of this engine is supposed to appeal to everybody. An example that I can give is with the river scene where you're traveling along a river after escaping the caves after the Hornet battle. In the original game, it kind of gave this kind of surreal look and it actually looked like a jungle. But in the remake, it just looks like every other average jungle. It doesn't look good. My point is that it just looks like a Unreal Engine game. From the reflections to the god-awful motion blur. I'm telling you, this game has some of the worst motion blur I've ever seen. You'll see it once you actually play the game and actually see the first cutscene that you do. But this game has some of the most god-awful motion blur. I had to turn it off when I first started playing. But there are a few settings that you can do that actually changes a few things with the visuals, like this legacy filter that makes everything look like the original game. But that's really what it is just a filter. It doesn't really fix the overall issues that I have with the actual visuals of the game. Like, even the main menu is just not as good as it used to be. How can you go from this to then just this? Luckily for me, I played on the day one patch, which made a lot of things run a lot smoother, but I know a lot of people were having issues at launch, in which Unreal Engine is famously known for its bugs and glitches. Like, for instance, when I was going into the menu, Snake would actually disappear, and it would take a few seconds for him to actually load for me to go, and cure him from any ailments or diseases that he, might have contracted. To even the visuals themselves. The visuals just don't look as good as the original. And might I say, the original art style just looks overall better. And sometimes I would even have a dip off in cutscenes. Like, if you look at the difference right here, you can notice that the remake looks a lot slower and the frame rate looks a lot slower in cutscenes than the original game or the HD collection. But before I start criticizing a few things about the remake, I want to talk about the stuff that I absolutely love about this remake. For instance, they've actually streamlined a lot of mechanics from the original game and just made things a little bit easier that I actually really like. Like, for instance, now you can actually switch between codec calls really quickly. I also really like the fact that they also added autosaves, which can really help you in certain, areas, and also help you with the fact that now you can actually save quicker than the original. It really helps with that loss of time prevention that I've actually had a problem with playing Metal Gear Solid. Also, one of the bigger improvements is the fact that you can now hot swap between all the camouflages. This used to be actually kind of tedious in the original game, where you had to go into the menu and pick your camo, your face paint, and it would usually take a pretty good while. And it especially kind of ruined the flow of things, especially when you're in those tricky situations like boss battles or you're in a really intense battle. It kind of just ruined the flow. But now in the remake, everything is much smoother, and just a click away, you can quickly hop between any camo or face paint that you have, and it's just overall easier. And I'm also really happy about the weird and goofy shit that they still added in the game, like all the goofy camos and skins. Like in the original game, the goofiness has always been its charm. Imagine running around the whole game playing as a gold-plated Snake, and it's just amazing and wacky and fun, and I still, am very happy that you could do that. Or you could still do the whole time paradox thing, and I'm absolutely a huge fan that they brought this back. Or them finally bringing back that guy Savage mode from the jail cell sequence, and also bringing back the whole, monkeys mode, which a lot of people are a huge fan of, especially me. I got to play a little bit of it, and so far I enjoyed the monkeys mode. But you're here to start a new game, and you got to pick two new styles. You could pick between the legacy style, which is the original game, or the new style, which is how the game is supposed to be played, in which the new style plays a lot like Metal Gear Solid 5 for people who are familiar with that, compared to the original game where you had a lot of harder controls and a harder combat challenge. The new style is pretty good, but there's a problem that I still have with it with the tranquilizers. See, they added this new drop-off point in this new cure system that kind of ruins the purpose of certain things, and the drop-off with the tranquilizer is just a no-go for me. Or how in boss fights, their health bar will actually gray out and show you that you can't damage them for a short time, which I actually really like. But also, the hit detection on some of the weapons is absolutely awful. But the legacy style is kind of just same old Metal Gear Solid 3. It plays the exact same way from the OG PS2 game, and also has kind of the same camera points. But in my opinion, I rather them have added the Substance Edition version, where you can hot swap between third person and the overtop style like at the original, because it was just a lot easier and it was a lot better to control. But for some reason in the remake, you can't swap between the styles. You have to actually go into the menu and swap out everything entirely, just taking up time to really, do everything when it could have been a hot swap in the options.
You serious?
But yeah, the simple convenience of a simple camera button press, just like in the HD collection, is now completely gone. And to be honest, I really wish that they didn't change this out, because it actually helps you a lot with certain things. Like, for instance, dealing with guards and boxes. But I mean, I can't really complain all too much when the new style is actually sometimes better than the old. Like, you should have been able to just swap between these on the fly or a whim, you know? Like, you should have been able to just get both camera angles at any time you want, because both camera angles are useful as hell. You can see way more in the Legacy view style, but at the same time, I would like to swap between the new Legacy on a whim. They should have kept things instead of removing them. It just doesn't make any sense.
There's nothing for you here.
I also found that playing with the new Legacy mode is just insanely clunky. From the controls being insanely complicated to just overall bad design. To be honest, if you're just gonna play this new mode, just play with the filter and play with the new style that it's trying to advertise you with. But now you can fully move around Snake while aiming or fire while aiming. It's now a completely third-person shooter. Not to complain, but it just isn't as good as the OG. But it's still a better option overall if you're trying to play. But to counter this new style, they added a lot of bullet drop to the weapons. And not gonna lie, it did get kind of aggravating with the bullet drop. And the gun that I had the most problem with was the tranquilizer when it came to the bullet drop, which makes it even harder to use it, unlike the original, where you can usually, try to take out somebody. It was easier to take out somebody really far away, but now it's absolutely harder. It's harder to aim with it. Unlike in the OG, where the real skill was absolutely trying to get the aim, the aim right. The bullet drop just makes everything a little bit harder. Not that I'm complaining about the difficulty, it just makes the gunplay a little, just not as good as the OG. Especially since most of the time you're going to be using the tranquilizer to eliminate threats, especially on repeated playthroughs when you're trying to unlock skins or, costumes and stuff like that with non-lethal playthroughs. It isn't as good as the OG, where the real challenge was just aiming the sights and, making sure that you're getting everything aligned. It just kind of irks, my guts, because I actually really like the fact that you could just absolutely dome somebody from long range using the tranquilizer or the silenced pistol. But now you can't really do that. And the hit detection is just sometimes absolutely horrendous. Like when I was fighting, this guy, look at it just go past him. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Or bullets just don't really hit all too harder than how it was in the OG.
Meanwhile,
like, how is a game that's supposed to be a remake of an almost 20-year-old game more responsive than its actual counterpart? Like, not trying to complain that much, but the absolute just shit show that it's showing is just showing me that the pure laziness is just getting out of hand. Especially since the Silent Hill 2 remake had no problem with this kind of stuff. But like overall, the game just feels a lot slower than the original. Not complaining about the animations or anything, but someone must have studied like Red Dead Redemption 2 while making it. Like the combat just feels a lot slower. The takedowns are a lot slower than how it was in the OG. Not complaining about the the animations of some things, but it just feels a lot more sluggish. And I can't even count how many times I've ran up to somebody and get caught and then actually have to hold down the sequence, the CQC takedown, and it just takes a lot longer than how it was in the original. Like, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or, as a gamer I'm getting worse, but it just absolutely runs like dog shit. Especially when I'm doing the very last boss in the game and you're supposed to counter her attacks. Like, when you have to hold down the counter button, it just doesn't work as good as the original, where you had to do it at just a press of a button, but now you actually have to hold it, and it just doesn't work well. Like, the only way to really counter her is by really just for me, is just by mashing the CQC button, and, like, it's just not as fun how it used to be. Not that the boss wasn't actually, that challenging or not that fun. It just wasn't as engaging as how it was in the original game.
The survivor will carry on the fight. It is our destiny.
And yeah, I became the new boss after just mashing the B button like I'm some 12-year-old fighting my bigger brother on Metal Gear, the fighting game or something. It just doesn't feel as good as it usually did. The original made it feel like you earned that title, but in this one, it just doesn't feel as good.
Get ready!
There's a few control things that I didn't really like in this new version either. Like, for example, with the cigarette spray, with now you have to actually aim it instead of, manually pressing it. In the original, you can just go up to anybody and just hold down the action button and just use it. But now you have to just go up to them and just aim and then fire. And this game has a lot of unnecessary inputs for a lot of things. And the hit detection for it is just terrible, especially when you see the smoke literally hit them. The range is so terrible on this. It's so bad. I mean, look at him. He got cancer from it. It's ridiculous. Or them taking out little stuff that you can do to exploit bosses, like using the fake death pill when you're going against the fear. It used to be just really easy where you just take the pill, throw a flashbang, and just hit them with everything that you got, and it usually would be able to, take them down in a few shots. But now it just, isn't as viable. And it's not like, this game is like a hard relic or anything to really change anything, but why change these things at all? I mean, the game isn't that hard to get. I mean, just like with the HD collection from the PS3, I mean, the game was super accessible. And of course, the, Legacy collection that came later on. So these games are super accessible to get now, especially since now you can play Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3 in such an easy way. And the Legacy collection has been patched up now, so now it runs an even, smoother frame rate and even better than most games. I don't know what it is, but of course they're just running through this like it's nothing. Compared to the remake of Silent Hill 2, which needed a much, up and needed remake.
Yeah, you could say that.
In which the only way to play the original experience is by either having the copies themselves, playing a fan-made patch on the PC port, or playing the so-called HD collection, which infamously is absolutely terrible, even though, I mean, it's not as bad as what a lot of people say, but still, it's inaccessible, unlike how Metal Gear Solid is. And the remake of 2 actually did a lot better than the original did. It enhanced the experience of everything that 2 did by adding more puzzles, adding a much better combat system, and even a better experience overall. I mean, they even added even more scenes to the original to make it just run even a lot better. And just add more story beats to it and add more, areas. The boss battles are even a lot better than the OG. It makes everything much more engaging, but the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake just doesn't do that at all. It's just a one-for-one remake. And not to hate on the fact that it is the original game, just with a better coat of paint, but that's also what I mean as well. It's just the original game, but with a better coat of paint. Especially since the overall price of the remake is literally just $70. And, I mean, it doesn't really justify the price point when all it's adding is just 2 extra modes. Like I said in the beginning of the video, everything that you experience in this game is absolutely what you can experience in the original. It doesn't justify the price point. And to be honest, I think it's absolutely scummy that they really upped the price for a remake that, is just one for one. When Bethesda made the Oblivion, when Bethesda made the Oblivion remake or remaster, even though it should be a remake at this point, I mean, they only charged like $50. When in this, they upped the price. But overall, it's still a great way to experience the story of Metal Gear Solid 3. This game is absolutely fantastic, but it still has its flaws. If it's your first time, I would definitely say, play it. It's great. But to people who are like me and experienced with Metal Gear Solid, just play the original unless you want to experience, the new features. But anyway, I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching, and it's been an amazing, time playing this game. I'll see you later, and goodbye.
Sometimes life is cock and ball torture. Without the cock and balls.